Adaptations are a difficult thing to do right, as that very concept, right, is put into question. Do you adapt it word for word, or do you tweak and rework characters from their visual appearance to the way they are implemented in their world? It's essentially a convoluted topic to cover in media, as it uses the original material as a means to cross-reference what can and cannot be done. And what other work to refer to as an example of this than the Ghost in the Shell franchise, in which its first film was incredibly different from its source material. It was darker, bleaker, and incredibly ham-fisted in making its viewers think about themes of morality, humanity, and that which came after. On top of that, there was religious iconography to further the director's drive to focus on ideas of transcendence and omnipresence in a world fused with technology. But what was that original vision? Did director Mamoru Oshii change and fiddle with the original too much to the point of it being unrecognizable, or did he keep the source material intact? The answer is interesting, because you see, he kinda did both. It's something I've wanted to actually discuss for a very long time on this channel, but never quite did because the realm of books and manga is kind of complicated for me to consistently make appealing to you guys. It's even more complicated when your material is an extremely dense piece of science fiction that had begun to show signs of accurately predicting the future, as we're now in an era of technological codependence, one that has infused the concept of digital reality with reality, where knowledge becomes information to be used to further fuel an ever-growing collection of infinite data. It's something the original creator of Ghost in the Shell, Masamune Shirow, has been developing ever since his first delve into science fiction with Appleseed, where public security roamed rampant and full-body prosthetics were becoming commonplace. Much of Appleseed's core design would be replicated and brought along into his Ghost in the Shell manga. It makes me wonder how much of his work has actually held up. What was he trying to tell us, and just how different is it when compared to the rest of the franchise nowadays? It's also something that I'm now able to more coherently explore, thanks to a full-fledged show having just begun to air and directly adapt his work to an almost frighteningly accurate degree. A degree I might say is perfect. Even if I wanted to go incredibly in-depth, I'm not going to, as I simply can't. There's just one episode out right now. It is something I might come back to and discuss in more detail once the show is fully out, but for now we'll strictly see to going over just this first episode. Now, did the production company, Science Saru, absolutely kill it? Yes, they straight up murdered the motherfucking thing and then took the head as a trophy. This is arguably a perfect adaptation of the source material. Science Saru's previously notable work with Dandadan shows that they are masters of sporadic chaos, and also that they're really good at reeling that chaos in. They know how to explode a scene with vivid and dynamic means of action that is deliberate in recognizing its disastrous moments as actual meaningful visual cues in storytelling. Expressions are more than just exaggerated in their productions, they are facial storyboards. Music isn't just there as background noise, it's there to be fuel to the scene's fire. Visual identity is something incredibly important in Ghost in the Shell, as throughout its entire existence it's been there to support and reinforce its mangaka's bizarre ideas. The manga has incredibly detailed designs that show its creator's obsession with portraying his technology as mechanical and plausible. Characters and the environments are meticulously designed with complex shading in mind, and will often be juxtaposed with a deliberate shift to comedic and cartoonish if the scene requires it. And in this sense, Saru's adaptation of the material for the show is pitch perfect. Unlike the original 90s film or the standalone complex show, the Ghost in the Shell replicates every single design to a T, from Major's first appearance with blue hair to the more exaggerated character proportions. This show says that this world is fucking insane. Its inhabitants have been molded so much by their technology to the point of them becoming one with it. There's a faint chromatic aberration filter to its visuals that helps it feel almost retro, like it's actually being watched through a VHS from the 90s. And that very chaotic and fluid animation Saru is known for is prevalent in this first episode. There are so many expressive shots that help add intensity and tension that it sometimes becomes borderline overbearing. Even shots of characters sitting in a sterile room is made bombastic with frequent adjustments to framing, color composition, expressions, and audio cues. Your introduction to Major's capabilities is also very stylistic, with her appearing out of thin air via the flicker in her invisible cloak after assassinating the vice minister. You see time freeze the moment the minister is shot. It then zooms out in the direction from which he was shot and frames her as the primary suspect in his execution. It then momentarily proceeds to unfreeze the frame, spewing blood on not only the wall and Shifa Aramaki, but also us and our screen. And it's amplified with the jazz-oriented track hitting right when his head is blown off. It's all these elements coming together that amplify the way in which this scene unfolded in the manga. They chose to use quick, snappy visual language that stays in direct unity with the source material. It showcases Major as an abrasive and taboo specialist with an undeniable sense of confidence. It never takes away from the original's purpose and instead uses the realm of the moving picture to amplify this dramatic scene. Additionally, the actual cyberbrain attacks and the ways in which the characters dive into each other's brains perfectly replicate the way Masamune drew them. They're meant to appear to be muddled memories that overlap with each other constantly. It purposefully overwhelms the viewer, especially when Bato first enters Major Cyberbrain, as it's basically you learning about that person's state of mind in its most crude form. Even smaller details exclusive to Masamune's art is replicated, as his iconic hatching over characters' noses is also included. I also can't help but bring up how pitch perfect it is in representing Shiro's original story and his messages. It's intentionally tone deaf. There's this perfect blend of comedy mixed with human drama. This first episode adapts the first two chapters of the manga, titled Prologue and Super Spartan. It primarily follows the sudden formation of Major Special Forces unit that specializes in crisis management. Their formation is initiated by the Minister of Internal Affairs deliberately having Aramaki get a team together with her, as both Major and Aramaki requested that such a group be formed. And then once her team is given the budget, they're then tasked with surveying the Sacred Citizen Relief Center, a recreational facility that takes in war orphans and gives them shelter and economic opportunities. However, once they uncover that these orphans are abused and used as illegal ghost controllers that are brainwashed by the government, they choose to step in. After saving one of the escaped orphans and fending off the facility's security forces with only their wits and teamwork, Major's team reconvenes, and we're given a scene where the Minister of Affairs attempts to have Major and her team join as an official squad under his direct control. Not amused by his proposition, Major hacks his cyberbrain, making him punch himself in the face, and then cuts the line. She then playfully states that her career is over, and knowingly looks at what appears to be a spy camera that is hinted at being used by Aramaki himself. This is basically a word-for-word adaptation of these two chapters, and the only thing this first episode really cuts out is the end, in which the group goes out for drinks, and Major then encounters Aramaki, who clarifies that her request for an independent terrorist unit has been approved. However, he also clarifies that the team is actually going to be an international hostage rescue unit to avoid public scrutiny, and that they will be directly reporting to the Prime Minister himself. It then basically ends with this really silly little interaction between Major and her group, where Bato plants a firecracker in Aramaki's car. Knowing this, she rightfully gets scared that they might have just actually blown his head off. Luckily, it's then revealed that he actually had his moped and drove off into the sunset, making her and her team look stupid. It's a cute and funny interaction that reinforces Masamune's balance of seriousness and comedy throughout the story. And honestly, the end of this episode alludes to the same thing, via Major smirking directly at the camera, hinting that she already got what she wanted, regardless of whether or not the minister directly approved it. They might even have their next episode directly start off in the bar. Anyway, I don't want this to become too hefty of a review of just this first episode. I really just want to appreciate the real Ghost in the Shell in all its silly and serious glory, because what really made the original manga so captivating was that masterful tonal shift and Masamune's ability to showcase the ethical concerns of human rights in a world engulfed in a hyper-connected network. Exploring such complex ideas that were still in just their infancy at the time showed how its author predicted how technology would be treated today. Masamune's themes help reflect how elements of identity and artificial intelligence have become commonplace in today's world. It's something I argued way back in my Ghost in the Shell 2 analysis. I said that the property has never faltered and has been culturally relevant due to it acting as less of just a piece of entertainment and more of a means of understanding a digital era. But nonetheless, that is all for this topic.
This is all I got.
What did you guys think of the first episode? Are there things you wish they added or removed that I may have overlooked? Feel free to discuss it in the comments down below. I may or may not come back soon if I feel like it, but I hope I was able to at least spark some form of discussion in the meantime with this video. Anyway, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and goodbye.